Mm-hmm. Here we are. It's the AV community meeting. It was going to be new members meeting. I mean, it still technically is the new members meeting, except we don't have any new members particularly shown up. But our old time member and wonderful super member Drow is here, and so it's Drow and Sam. Let's get into just having a little chat quickly. We've got things on my mind are, oh gosh, like trying to have the new members meeting and the sequence of that. There's what is it? There's also, we just had the time change in the UK, and that was all kind of a bit chaotic. And then we've kind of got quite a few new paid projects sort of coming through in different dribs and drabs, which is nice. I think, yeah, you said you didn't have any particular agenda items.
No, just like how things are going. Like, what's the status of things?
So, yeah. I mean, I guess we should probably at least briefly talk about Met Plus. But yeah, so let's start in at the top there for that. Yeah, so I tried. We had a few months back. We had a series of new member meetings. This came from the marketing meeting where we were suggesting that this is, the way to go, and I think Federico, Lara, maybe also the Y Project person, which is Will, ran new member meetings and got 3 or 4 new member folks, running them, I think, at a much earlier time than this, and sort of trailing them in the new members channel and sort of saying, hey, this is going on. And I think what was interesting was that, certainly people who've never shown up to scrums showed up to those new member meetings, making it seem like, oh, right, this is something that, if something is labeled as a new member meeting, then people who would not otherwise go to other meetings will come to the new member meeting. And so we sort of were talking about, well, we should sort of do this regularly. And then, I mean, it's interesting. I think going back to the discussion in the mentors channel, I think I can say, I think Federico and I were talking about trying to canvas the mentors, and I think then Federico kind of never did so, and I think it was almost maybe he was intimidated by the response from, you remember how you'd kind of gone out to say to the mentors, well, okay, mentors, what's the deal with the AV community meeting, how can we make it, and I think we got some good feedback from a mentor, but it was kind of in a, I don't know, am I totally off base here when it's sort of, it felt a bit like it was saying, well, you're not really doing it. Do you know, am I totally off base there? Was the feedback a little harsh?
For what? For the new members meeting, or
no, not so much for the new member, but for the AV community meeting? I mean, it feels like the feedback that we got there put Federico off subsequent kind of canvassing, trying to get. I think it's partly there wasn't I think that the when you kind of canvass the mentors for how can we make the AV community meeting more valuable, useful, etc. We only really got feedback from, there was sort of this, shall we call it, pointed feedback from one member.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you would have liked to have seen was several mentors giving feedback.
Yeah, what happened was that we had a public feedback, and then I reached out to members individually, to the mentors, and I got some other answers from them. But yeah, definitely my first reaction to the feedback that we got, let's call it publicly. First of all, when I read it, I got a little bit, not distressed, but I got oh, okay. It looked like a little bit aggressive. But then when I read it, it made sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think after that, when Federico, the last time that we talked about the this new members meeting, and we told them, oh, why don't we talk about the mentors and see if they can like host and so on. I think he got afraid to get like the same type of answer.
Right. Yeah.
And he didn't want to do it. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Yes. And it's interesting. Yeah, as you say, it's like, I mean, this is of course the difficulty with text communication is that, you know, even if there was no pointedness or spikiness or aggressiveness intended, sometimes, you know, just depending upon where people are in their, you know, personal emotional journey. Yeah. So it's kind of, I mean, that's a whole separate conversation. But what we ended up doing then is, so rather than, I think what Federico had been hoping to do was to get kind of a commitment from certain numbers of mentors to run the new member meeting at a certain frequency. But then, as I say, he sort of like was shied off kind of trying to get that input. And I sort of ended up saying, well, you know, I'm very happy to run it, you know, in alternating weeks in the AV community slot. I think we ran one about, you know, 4 or 5 weeks ago. We had one new member. We answered a few questions. But it seems like it's maybe not a particularly wonderful time. I guess there's also that maybe running it in an alternating slot kind of ends up muddying the water. You know, people are going, oh, actually, no, that's the AV community meeting. Oh, no, it might not really just be for, you know, who knows? I'm second guessing myself. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you know, other things being equal, I'm going to be away next week, and then back together. You know, in a few weeks' time, I'll try it again, kind of publicizing. I did for today, like I kind of remembered during the course of last week to mention it on like Tuesday and Thursday and Friday, and then mention it this morning, and then, you know, post to the new members channel. So,
are you saying in stand-ups?
I did say it in the I said it in the stand-up that we just had. Now, I think I mentioned it on, you know, the one this morning. Although now with the time change, we lost. We didn't have so many people in the scrums today. We had some very full scrums last week with sort of a lot of people. Again, not so many. You know, my idea for the beginning was that scrums would serve as because anybody could jump in really easily, as a sort of place for people to sort of gradually on board. But we just don't have that many new people. I mean, there was a relatively new person who was in the scrum on Friday, but I guess what I was going to say there is that actually, so Nico is working on a new content system for Website 1. And, you know, independently of tweaking with the scrums, with when we have new member meetings or what have you, what he's doing, and this is, I'm quite excited about this, he's following the Odin project model. And what we're doing is we're setting it up so that all the static pages in the site will be pulled dynamically out of this Agile Ventures repo. So for example, you can see he's just been putting all these different things in here, like the getting started pages and so on, what have you. So for example, the About Us page is now in here in Markdown. And so what this will allow is basically anybody who wants to propose a change to any of the kind of Agile Ventures documentation can do so via pull request on this repo. And then if we merge it in, it automatically gets pushed up to the site. You're muted there if you're trying to comment on that.
I know.
Okay. I just saw your mouth moving. I wasn't sure if you were chewing or you were laughing or what were you?
I was like, yeah, it becomes live, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Go there.
But so what I particularly think is we've got the framework with people coming into the site, and we do, once they sign up, we direct them to this getting started page, which is, you know, I think this whole getting started sequence needs to be, you know, kind of smoothed out so that it kind of can scaffold people through the process of onboarding to a project, making their first full pull request, and so on. So then we've got all these things, like we've got, oh gosh, are they still here? Well, I can't find them now. Like we've got these documents that we've thrown in here, which is about recommendations about how to work on a project and so on. But these are sort of off in GitHub. So what I'm hoping is that ultimately we can have an ongoing process of continually polishing our documentation about how to onboard, how to get involved, and so on, and that it will then actually be visible within the Agile Ventures site, and kind of for the people who are landing on the site, it'll be easy to find. Ultimately, they can tick off their progress going through it. So, yeah, I'm really excited about Nico putting, he's making great progress on that. So I think ultimately, it's that kind of change, like simple step by step, do this, that's going to allow more people to kind of get engaged and involved. Other two things I had on there were just, so the time change doesn't happen frequently enough for me to work out how to deal with it competently. I totally knew that it was coming. The US one was 2 weeks ago, and I still got it the wrong way around. I still ended up thinking that it was going to, as a result of the time change, it would move things an hour earlier for the people in the US, and it didn't. It went the other way. And anyway, I don't know. I mean, it's you can see it as a destructive opportunity for a chance twice a year for us to rearrange the meeting times and just.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'll just mention, so new pay projects. The NHS has said that they want to, extend the wiki project.
That's good.
And that's a paid one. So that's nice, and that's more. It's not really development work. It's sort of all DevOps and then customization on top of MediaWiki. But as the project gets bigger, I think more people are getting more interested, and as it's greater longevity, people are getting more interested in it. I'm starting to have more and more people ask for websites being built. We've got a new people. They all want to have phone calls. I like, can you not write it down in an email? Just there's a kind of, I get this, like, I am so comfortable with email. I just love writing it down because I can correct myself and then but like there seems to be a lot of people, most of the people with money, they seem to massively prefer phone calls to actually these things. I guess it all depends.
But I think people sometimes don't want to write down their ideas because they're afraid someone else will read it. And they will get the idea. So if they just talk to you,
it's kind of more of a secret.
It's not written anywhere. So
they haven't had to commit to it. But so there's a student mentoring organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we start, like, if we start bagging them into categories of, we've got people who have previously paid for a serious project, which is so we've got here the NHS one. So they paid for it previously and they now want to extend it. We've got people who previously paid a small amount. So there we've got the My Notebook project, where they paid for the half of the design sprint, and they were talking about, let's do a bigger development, and they were going to pay a deposit, and then there was some trouble with the banking, and then they didn't. And now we're and it's going to be sorted out at some time, and so we're kind of on hold.
Still waiting for it to start.
Frustrating for people who were hoping to start work on that. That's like a React Native project, which a lot of people are excited about. And then we've got sort of new leads that are coming in. So there's this student mentoring organization, and they want maybe some kind of custom system. So I need to have a phone call about them. I just had a phone call from, this is there's a new charity website. I've got this is my son's guitar tutor needs help with his WordPress site. That's kind of a bit ridiculous, that one. Ongoing, and it's sort of, we've got the continuing paid project, which is the Anthony Powell Society. So we've got Lara's working on their WordPress site, and I've just about finished their Access membership database. We've got this thing with, often the technologies that sort of make sense for the client are not the ones that our members would be most excited about learning about.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah. This one is interesting. If they have a budget for it, that could be a good one.
It's like when it's a greenfield project, it's much easier to do what we want to do with it. When it's not, it's much harder, and people don't like that.
Absolutely, and particularly this one. Like this is sort of frustrating in that like this person was sort of talking about that, oh, you know, I could have gone with you, but they went with some friend of a friend, and now their friend of a friend built a kind of crazy thing, and now they've been let down, and they're like, oh, could you help me fix it? And it's like, oh, if you just worked with us from the start, that would have been really great. But yes, and is that? I guess when I look at it like this, there's not so many things going on. It's certainly very nice to have had the NHS
extension.
This one may still happen. This one, hopefully, we can finish up and get like we got the deposits were all paid for this, and these are ones which are kind of like the deposits were paid, and then we're now, you know, we're on hold to get the next stage as a function of some issue, either on their side or in this case on our side of like actually completing the work. Then we've got this, and so there's a few new things. Was there something else that was making me think? I guess it's not quite so many. Yeah, that just came in today. Anyway, but yeah, so I mean,
it's quite a lot for a complete organization, like a complete, not really open source, but a group of people that is so vast and so different in here. I think it's quite big and like volunteer based.
Yes, and what's exciting about this one and this one is I think we're getting to the point where we might actually be able to compensate people for some of their time. Oh, the other exciting thing is that we have as well with Gitcoin, they've sponsored one of our so we've got Ethereum backing some of our Website One ticket. So,
that's cool.
For Website One tickets.
It's like, yeah, I remember we talked about that, but what happened with that? Like, we talked about the possibility of having that, right?
Yep.
But they were gonna sponsor us, or you were trying to get them to sponsor us at least something, or we were gonna pay for it. I don't remember.
Yeah, we were exploring the different options, and ultimately came round. And where it worked is I found one ticket that was a bit of a tricky one. That I basically asked Nico, who's upgraded us to Rails 5 on across all these different things, and he was like, he found a ticket that he thought was a good one, and I passed that on to them, and they said, oh yeah, we'll put slapped on that. So they put 0.1 Ethereum, which is like $60 on that ticket.
60?
And 60, yeah.
6. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. You know, so I mean, you know, depending on how long the ticket takes, I mean, if you can do it in half an hour, that's a pretty good deal. But you know, if it takes a bit longer. But so yeah, in fact, one of our premium members, Nick, has been working on it, and he's actually submitted a fix, and we're trying to get that into production later today, and potentially that will be a fix, and it'll be out, and then he'll get the Ethereum, and that's. I mean, it's a lovely story to go in the newsletter, and then we'll see. I mean, I think that the Gitcoin people, they've got kind of a fund to support open source. So, I mean, you know, we're sort of doing usability testing for them, and you know, adding a different technology stack because all their stuff's mainly Python. Their tickets are about. So, you know, that's a nice, you know, it's a sort of little steps of collaboration, but could go further. What was I going to say? There, yeah. So, yeah, there's definitely a few bits and pieces going on. I mean, then also Met Plus, Chets, you know, on a you know, recycle, you know, billing site on the non-profit extra support plan with us. I was doing some pairing with Erica. I think we've got the code done for the HTTPS. I need to do which is sort of, we need to put the staging site out and do other bits and pieces. Yeah, it's like we need to keep the momentum going with Met Plus. You had a meeting with Chet on last week on Thursday, did you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And we talked
anything important coming out of that? Go on.
We talked a little bit about the priorities and everything that was going on with the project and what he wanted to basically, like the majority of the meeting was to, I don't remember. I'm gonna say I do remember, but I'm gonna say like it was the majority of the time of the meeting. We talked about future work, and because he sent me an email on Tuesday last week,
yep,
talking about a bunch of extra features. Damn it. And about like you want a new login page that was agency agnostic, so you could just log in and go into your agency without having like any branding, only the Pets branding.
Right.
And like he's starting to have like a lot of ideas on how to go into the next
yeah, so he's got a lot of ideas.
So he's got a lot of ideas on how to move this to the next step and into having like this spread into multiple agencies. I talked to him and tried to put this into perspective that this is gonna take some time, and to make sure that we have like everything that we need. We should go like step by step in doing small things. So we went through the list of features that we saw like 3 weeks ago, the last meeting we had with them, and we had 6 bugs to be solved, let's say. And personally, like after looking at everything, we solved 3 of them. We mitigated the 4th one, and we had only 2 open. And from my perspective and what the errors look like, they are things that are not gonna happen unless we move again to another platform. So what I talked to him is like, yeah, let's see what's happening here and see how things are going. I think we can park this for now, and ask them to let me know what would be the next 3 things. And he selected 3 things for us to work on, and I already made a pull request for one of them. Eventually, I'll do, if I do have some time, today or tomorrow. Today, I think it's going to be hard, but maybe tomorrow I'll be able to do a pull request for the second one. So we're on track.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Now, is the plan that you'll have a weekly meeting with him, or just like as and when? So I was going to say this Thursday we could have. I ended up having a pairing session last Thursday that meant I couldn't join you, but this Thursday we should meet and try. I mean, I think we've got the interest from Hinesh and Tong Wei and Erica, and I think if we can kind of, I'm going to be away next week, but if we can sort of get into a regular pattern, I think it's having those meetings that then builds up a head of steam to get knock off issues and get stuff done.
Yeah, like my idea was if we could keep like the same schedule every week for me, would be good. So like last week we did it at 11 to match your time, I think, to match at 3 p.m.
right
on your side. So this week we would be like I didn't schedule it, but I was thinking like 1 week we could have like the meeting with Chet, the other week we could have the meeting together, like all the developers, and all developers should go also to
the meeting with
Chet.
But that's exactly what I'm doing with the local support meeting. Is I'm now, in order to try and make sure that to sort of create a sort of a 2-week sprint cycle and to make sure we have a connection with the customer is basically I'm doing exactly that. So love it.
That was my idea. I still haven't created the event yet, but that's my idea. I tried to, like, in the end of the meeting, I tried to update everybody on what happened on the meeting, and
that's it. Oh, that's great. Well, and so the thing that now we've had the clocks change. So the interesting thing is what we do with the Kemp Beck Scrum. So we had the Kemp Beck Scrum today, like late, from my point of view, an hour later than usual. It maybe hasn't changed for it. Anyway, but so in principle, if the Kemp Beck Scrum moved an hour later, we could have the Met Plus meeting continuing at 11 a.m. EDT. If the Kemp Scrum gets moved back an hour to make it not change for those people in Europe, then it could be earlier. But I wonder if it's an opportunity just generally to have the Kemp Beck Scrum be later every day, and then that
I don't mind having the meeting at 10 EDT.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
That will
okay.
make it like 3 p.m. your time, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Which is
So
so the 3 p.m. is definitely free, and
Mhm.
if we keep the so that 10 a.m. EDT is definitely free. If we keep the camp back at its UTC time, which means it's like later, then the 11 a.m. is also possible. So anyway, I mean, let's check in on Wednesday. Let's double check exactly what we're doing on
Yeah.
Wednesday, and
I think
go from
I
there.
think the earlier the best, at least from the experience that we had before.
Okay,
When we had more people contributing.
Yeah, we've
that was one of the
Tonway and
reasons.
Hinesh are both like in Asia, Australia time zone. So yeah, we can check in with them. Yeah.
So I believe like that previously Patrick was talking with them. A lot of them like at 7.
Yeah, he was
EDT.
joining us for the Martin Fowler scrum, and they were joining then.
So
together, and then but yeah, not any more. But we'll continue having the early Martin Fowler, and they can always join that if they want.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's yeah. So that's cool. Yeah. Yeah. The all right, yeah, we'll definitely check in together again on Thursday. That sounds good. Yeah, and then I was remembering some other there are actually a few other leads and people putting in bids that they want us to be part of and so on. And the thing that I was going to say, maybe then in summary, was I guess I'd been worrying this year about not over the last 6 months not having been able to really increase the number of premium members. It's kind of been like in a steady state. But where we've been kind of increasing is in terms of these contracts, and that's now got like us financially stable until June 2019, which is a nice.
Oh, that's good.
There's a good, gives me a solid platform to keep working on this kind of full time. Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I would love the whole site to be like funneling loads of helping more people get upgraded into premium members and joining the mobs and the face-to-face pairing and so on. But I kind of realized actually, if we've got enough of these projects coming in, then we don't have to go crazy. I don't have to keep killing myself to try and get more premium members in. And in some ways, I think it's ultimately, if we've got a nice stable of paid projects, that's the kind of thing that's going to act as
bring more people.
Yeah, and just we can let the yeah. So I kind of if this trend carries on, then I guess we're kind of heading in the right direction. I mean, it's kind of a shame not to have 6 new members here today asking questions about what's going on. It would be lovely to have the scrums consistently full of people all wanting stuff. At the same time, I think what I sense is that people's time is valuable, and that ultimately it's going to be paid projects where they can learn that's going to be the real draw. And once that hopefully becomes a really stable thing, it'll serve as the engine that will just keep on making this last and grow, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's like the best thing. If we can have paid projects, people will be much more interested, and that will make people join and maybe make them become more active. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it increases the critical mass of the community. Do you know what I mean? It's like you need a certain. This has always been the thing: is you need a certain number of people kind of hanging around in order to bump into each other to have spontaneous. Oh, let's work on this together. Let's work on that together. Yeah. Oh, right, and there was another one. There was another like the whole. There was. I'm gradually remembering. There's another SP with Northern Ireland guy. There are a lot of people talk. Of course, the key with all this is translating all the chat into people actually transferring money, which is the trick. I think what is sort of happening, if we read it optimistically, is just by being around for long enough, what I'm starting to have is people who heard about us, or I talk to about us, or explain what we do to like them a year or 2 or 3 years ago, they're starting to get back in touch and saying, "Oh yeah, you do charity work." Like this whole student mentoring thing, that was a recommendation from someone that I met at a networking event, you know, like a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, you know, if we can, you know, particularly now, you know, financially stable till you know, we'll be definitely doing all this until oh gosh, what is it, June 2019. It kind of, and if we can keep delivering good experiences for the clients, it gradually snowballs. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, of course.
So of course, you know, global economy collapses aside. But yeah, good show.
So a question I just remembered. Where are you on when talking to Pivotal? Did you got any further? I don't.
Not really. I think that the you know, there was the list of things that we might have talked about, and the main one that was responded to was like, oh, the kind of event space. I guess for us, I mean, in my mind right now, like access to event spaces seems pretty low priority. You know, although we do have like, we need to run an annual general meeting.
Yeah.
As well as I need to sort the accounts as well. And so there's a question of, do we need to have a physical space for this? So I guess that would be a follow-up. I mean, I think that the most exciting thing for me from the Pivotal thing is the idea that Pivotal have non-profit people who are asking for help and they can't afford Pivotal services, and so Pivotal could be directing them to us. But you know, it sort of, it feels like a bit of a long shot at the moment. I guess if we could call, the thing about the annual general meeting is what the main thing I'm sort of agonizing about is, should we make it fully online, or should we kind of arrange a hybrid where, for example, if we could get a meeting space from Pivotal in London and in New York that people could attend, but then we've got to like deal with the logistics of that event and have a person there, and then, you know, you're running something where, you know, you've got a couple of rooms full of audiences and then you've also got some people online, or do we arrange just a purely physical, you know, in one location, but then that excludes everybody? Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of, and we sort of need to do this by, we're like, from the UK as a charity, we are legally required to have an annual general meeting. This feels like the simplest and easiest, but I'm also worried about excluding people who are less online savvy. I don't
know. Like what I think is that having I think the major problem that we're going to face is going to be time zone.
Right.
And getting, usually what Pivotal does in terms of their space, of their event space, is they allow you to use it after billable hours. So we're talking about after 6 p.m.
Sure.
In here, and in I don't know the time in London, like the office time in London, if it is like 9 to 6 or if it is 8 to 5, but it will be one of the two. So that's usually, so making the event like in two places, I think it might be hard. Nevertheless, having it on Pivotal grounds, you'll have access to Pivotal things.
When you say Pivotal things,
like the space, I'm not sure like how, but like the internet thing, the internet part, I think we can arrange to something eventually, have some cameras to record it and like to stream it online, and things like that.
That would have good internet connection and so on. Yeah, I mean,
it could have like some of the, even, I'm not sure if how it works in like with meetups and things in here. But it might be something that we can discuss, and we can have like the live stream directly made by Pivotal. I don't know.
Right. We'll see. That sounds good. I mean, the association with Pivotal is good. It's a great brand. The interesting for the annual general meeting, the time zone thing is tricky, but I don't know that it's such a problem in as much as the plan is to have kind of, it's like a sort of an all day event, but then not all of it needs to be physical. So it could be that what we would have is, I mean, it would, my idea is to have basically a series of presentations.
Mm-hmm.
So what we might have, for example, if you think about it in sort of a running time zone thing, is we might have a presentation about, let's say, local support, 30 mins, and then it would be, you know, there'd be like breakout 30 mins, so a short, you know, presentation demo, and then and it would sort of go on like through the day, and all of it would be recorded. So if you couldn't attend a particular thing, then they would and maybe like to start with, these would all be like hangouts, right? And then it gets to, let's say, in the time, hypothetically, if we were using Pivotal UK, right, it gets to after hours in the UK, and so then we might have, you know, AGM session 1 is, I don't know, like 30 minutes, and that's like then discussing, you know, the AGM business, and then something like this, and then we have breakout again 30 minutes, and you know, who knows, everybody's on different timescales and different who's in the lunches and what have you, and then we've got like SHA project, 30 mins, and then we've got another breakout again, and then we've got, you know, maybe like you give a presentation on Met Plus, and that would be done online, and then there's like, this would then be like co-located in the physical space, let's say in New York, and so we'd have AGM session 2 like that, and this would be like New York 6 p.m. and this would be like UK 6 p.m. Who knows? I'm just sort of kind of sketching there, but so the idea would, I mean, you know, and different people around the world, there's no way we can make it so that everybody can be there.
What I was saying about the time zone issue would be exactly like the separation you have there, where you can have like, I think it's going to be hard to have, for example, the event space on Pivotal at the same time into separate.
No, absolutely. So I think that's just a no-go. So what we would do is that we would basically have, you know, a series of online things, and then, I mean, even the thing is, like, in principle, and it could just be purely online, and that's simplest in terms of logistics. You know, it's maximally excludes people who are not really up for that, but you know, yeah, you know, I guess. I mean, the limit from the Hangouts is that there's like only 10 people can like be present, but actually it can stream to an unlimited number of people. So we could basically say, look, everybody be on the stream. If you need to talk, then come into the Hangout. If not, go on the stream. And that then, you know, but we could basically run effectively the AGM, you know, into anyway, it to be worked out.
Yeah, I think it looks good. Looks good. I think that's a good option. I like the thing that I like about the hybrid is that it, let's call it, it puts boots on the ground and like spreads our image like outside of the web as well.
Right.
And that might be interesting. And that's like what I like about that. Of course, like it will include other preparations that online don't need.
Yes, that's true. I mean, it's like, for example, if you're running this in New York, I mean, John and Marion are both in New York, and particularly I think if it was after hours, then, you know, and Michael's not that far, neither, I mean, it starts to be further away, Philadelphia, Boston, what have you. But, you know, people who are on the, you know, East Coast US, a few of you could, I mean, I don't imagine that either in the UK or in New York, we would suddenly have hundreds of people turning up physically. It would be more like a handful of people in both locations, but that might be a nice opportunity for, you know, similarly for there's a few members in London and in the UK, so it would be the kind of thing that if we give enough warning in advance, it creates the space for a physical meetup. That's yeah, I mean, the challenge for me on my side is, I imagine, like, I can run all of these things very easily from my home office, but I don't really have an event space nearby. So if I was going to, let's say, you know, Pivotal, like for 6 p.m. in London to do this, it would be less easy for me to run the, not impossible, I guess. I could find like a, anyway, to be worked out.
Things can be arranged, and I'm quite sure that if you needed a meeting room, I could get you a meeting room in London for the rest of the time. So it's the thing that we, when we have an idea when we want to do it and what we want to do with it, I think it's something that we can talk with Pivotal leadership to see, like, with a more concrete plan. And be like, we would like to do this.
Right. Yeah, the plan needs to be developed further, and I think the idea is to do it in June. That's what we need to. We need to have done it by the end of June, or I get in trouble. So yeah, good stuff. Joao, great to see you. I guess I'll speak to you on Thursday. Let's just make sure we check in on Wednesday to coordinate the Met Plus meeting.
Okay, cool.
Great stuff. Bye for now.
See you. Bye.